Now, Arsenal in the Emirates Cup against Borussia Dortmund. Loads of goals around today, losing by 3-2. Gyökeres and Nwaneri with the goals, Rob, for the Gunners in this one. They've had a mixed pre-season, but it's all about getting minutes in the legs, and they've had a lot of players away with the World Cup, beating Girona by 4-1, losing 3-1 against Real Betis, and weirdly winning on penalties after losing the game. But that's the Emirates Cup. Let's take a look at the Arsenal lineup that played in this game. And as we try and get Shaka back from the Gremlins, I was looking at the predicted 11, and there's so many different ones, Rob, because this is the lineup against Dortmund today. It was on the same day that they announced Bruno Guimaraes earlier in the day. So if it's going to be a 4-3-3 like they normally play, then who's leading the line? Where does Havertz play? Cholis, the new signings, looked good. There's a lot of questions here. Do you think Arteta has his 11 in mind for their first game of the season against Coventry, or do you think there's still a lot of moving parts here?
I think there are a lot of moving parts, and you just mentioned it there about the World Cup. It's something that all these top teams are having to deal with in pre-season, that all the players, all their better players who have been at the World Cup, lots of whom have got to the quarterfinals, semi-finals, final, third place, fourth place playoff, that kind of thing, just aren't ready to come back. And what they will be trying to avoid right now is rushing these players back and having them have injury setbacks that set them back for another couple of weeks into the season. So they'll be very careful with those players. So I wouldn't read too much into any of these teams and the results that these big teams are having. In terms of what you said right at the top of there about Arteta has got questions, I think they're very good questions for him to answer, because a lot of these top clubs are struggling for options. You know, you look at teams like Man United, for example, haven't brought in the players that many fans expected them to bring in. And maybe some of the questions that Michael Carrick has got are not great because he hasn't got the options to spread around. I think Mikel Arteta has probably got the strongest squad in the Premier League, and that's only got stronger in the last 24 hours with the signing of Bruno Guimaraes. I would suggest that out of all the signings that these top teams have made, he is really the one that elevates that starting 11 more than any other signing. So it's a great problem for Mikel Arteta to have. I guess the only issue he's got is how to keep all of these players happy. They have got Champions League football. Obviously, they're going to go again and try and win back-to-back Premier League titles. They're going to have a good go. Judging by last season, they're going to have a good go at the domestic cup competition. So you'd think there'd be plenty of games to go around. It'd be interesting to see what kind of makeup his starting midfield has, because you've got a midfield three there, you know, three fantastic players, but you've also got Guimaraes to come back in. You've got Declan Rice, you've got Zubimendi as well, who joined 12 months ago. So Arteta's got a lot of options. It'll be really interesting when the first big game comes around. You know, when you've got to go to places like the Etihad Stadium or Old Trafford or Liverpool, what midfield three Mikel Arteta picks, because he's got a lot of options in the centre of the pitch, and it's a great issue and a great problem for him to have.
Now, Shaka Hislop's a big lad, and I've never met anybody that's thought they could get the better of him and come out on top, including internet gremlins. So Shaka 1, Gremlins 0, another clean sheet for the big lad. Arsenal squad.
I'm not sure it's a clean sheet. Well, it's pre-season for us too, Mark. Remember?
Indeed, those poor gremlins, though. Yeah, Arsenal squad. Rob speaking about the good problems, and he's spot on about that. Arteta has. They've got so much strength in each position. But I was going to say, if I handed you a blank checkbook, I've tried that before, and you're like, you're Scottish, you don't hand anybody money. But if I was to give you a blank checkbook and you could sign within reason, and one player in a position that Arsenal need, and let's not go Mbappe or something like that, but which would be the area you would wish to strengthen, given what Rob said about the strength and depth in many positions for Arsenal?
Kind of given the signings that they've made this summer, Arsenal, and Rob's right to point it to Bruno Guimaraes. I still think Arsenal are in need of a world-class centre forward. And while they won the league with Gyökeres as their number 9, if I had a blank checkbook right now, the name that comes to mind is Julian Alvarez. Despite his links with Barcelona, and we see what comes of that, kind of, given the tension between Atletico Madrid and Barcelona over that proposed transfer in the summer. If I could swoop in with that Scottish blank checkbook, I would be calling up Julian's representatives. I think he is a perfect fit for Arsenal as to where they are, where they are right now, and what's their greatest need. I also heard you talking about, well, what about Havertz and where does he play and his role in the team? Again, those are things that I think kind of come secondary to that world-class finisher playing as a number 9. That for me is where the weakest point. And then to the point that I made, that they won the title with Gyökeres as their starting centre forward. I expect City to be better than they were last season. I expect Liverpool to be better than they were last season. So maybe Arsenal also have to raise their bar if they want to defend their title.
We shall end with Liverpool at home, 2-0 up against Monaco, but losing by 3-2. Now, look, results don't mean anything in pre-season, but Rob, let's start with you on this one. Gakpo wide left, Wirtz in the 10, Isak through the middle, and it was Louis Kumas who played on the right-hand side with Szoboszlai and Gravenberch in behind. The starter for Liverpool at Newcastle on the opening weekend, wide right, does he currently play for the football club?
I think he probably will have to, just because of how short a turnaround time they've got before that first game of the season. If you were to ask me whether the long-term right winger is at the club right now, I would have probably said no, because I think they are looking to sign another wide forward, whoever that may be. I think that obviously it's a disappointing result, and again, you shouldn't read really too much into these results in pre-season, because it's not really about the results. It'll be about Iraola looking at the players that he's inherited, because there's some of those players that he's picked today that you won't know an awful lot about, and you only really tend to find out about players in match situations. It's all well and good on training pitches, but you only really find out about these players in match situations. He'll be looking for the connections between players and which kind of combinations work. So he won't be too worried either. I think he'll be delighted with the fact that Isak has scored, and also Wirtz has scored and played well. I think there are issues in that Liverpool squad. You mentioned there about signing another wide forward. I'm sure they'll do that. They probably need another centre half. Konate's gone to Real Madrid. He didn't have a great season last season, but he did make 36 Premier League appearances, which meant that he was a regular. So they probably need to replace him with someone a little bit more experienced to go alongside Virgil van Dijk. But if Isak is the type of player next season as he was in his last season at Newcastle, that solves an awful lot of issues. He obviously had a difficult season last year for whatever reason. I don't think the move in the summer and the way that it all came about helped him. I think he scored 3 Premier League goals last season. If he can score 25 to 30 Premier League goals next season, a lot of Liverpool's issues go away. And he's that good of a player. He can certainly do that. And if he's fit and firing and ready to go, then they are a completely different team. And it's a really positive sign for Iraola that Isak is fit, he's able to play, and he's scoring goals, because they are a completely different team if he's playing well.
Shaq?
Rob, I listen, to Rob's point, I don't care about the result. I really do not. It is pre-season. You get a goal out of Wirtz. You get a goal out of Isak. If I'm Iraola, I'm like, all right, let's go. We're going home now. From the time that second goal goes in, I'm like, all right, we're done. That is as good a start to a pre-season, or good a response that you can hope for, given the season that Wirtz had last season. Given the season that Isak had, albeit injury-plagued, last season, you know how good those players can be. They didn't show it at any point during the course of last season. You get goals, you get performances out of those two. That's the be-all and end-all from this Monaco game for me. Yes, you still have a whole lot of holes to fill between now and the start of the season. You've got issues to address, but if you can get performances out of those two, if you can get performances out of the rest of the supporting cast that that you saw of a couple of years ago, I think Liverpool are in a far better place. And as I said earlier, I think Liverpool will be a whole lot better this season than they were last. We were talking about Arsenal, and this is a significant step in that direction.
Will we see the Florian Wirtz Shaq that we saw in the Bundesliga, not the one we saw last season at Anfield?
I hope so. I hope so. I say that for no other reason than talents like Florian Wirtz don't come along often, and you want to see them at their absolute best. Now, what you saw Florian Wirtz in the last 12 months in a Liverpool shirt was nothing at all like the Florian Wirtz we'd seen for Leverkusen. Nothing at all like the Florian Wirtz we see for Germany. It just did not work for whatever reason. And I sincerely hope, purely as a neutral here, but purely as someone who wants to see incredibly talented footballers play their natural games, play at their best, I would love to see Florian Wirtz do what he did for Liverpool as he did for Leverkusen, because it was a joy to witness a couple of seasons ago. I would love to see him do that on the bigger stage in the red of Liverpool.
I'll finish off with you, Rob. Ronald Araujo. I was slightly surprised by some of the comments about his signing, because I think a lot depends on which Ronald Araujo that Liverpool are getting. And the likelihood is he's going to partner Virgil van Dijk. Last season, he only started 11, came off the bench 13 times for Barcelona, but he's a goal threat as well, and he's only 27, but he has his moments. Do you think that this is a good signing and an upgrade on Konate?
I mean, if we were talking 2 or 3 seasons ago, then you would have said definitely yes, because he was fantastic at Barcelona. You've mentioned there about some of the struggles that he's had recently at Barcelona, and it's quite telling that Barcelona are willing to loan him to Liverpool. In my experience, big clubs do not get rid of really, really good players. They just don't. They keep them, obviously. And so there are a few red flags. There have been suggestions that he may be coming to Liverpool to play at right back or offer cover at right back. I think it's a solid signing. I don't think it's anything more than that. I think that the Premier League is very, very tough. And I know that I'm biased. I'm speaking with bias because I watch the Premier League every single week. I just think that it's the toughest league in the world in terms of the energy you need, physically, mentally. So it's going to be a tough test. I would love to see him do well, because 3 years ago, or 2 or 3 years ago at Barcelona, he was absolutely terrific. So if he can replicate that form at Liverpool, it's an absolute steal to grab him on loan from Barcelona. But we'll have to see. I think with these signings, sometimes, the proof is in the pudding. There's a risk attached to every single signing, some more so than others. I think this is low risk in terms of what Liverpool are getting, because it's on loan. It's not like you're splashing 70 million euros and there's no get out there. So we'll have to wait and see. I really hope that it works out, because from what I've read and seen from some of our Liverpool guys, from our Spanish guys who cover Barcelona week in week out, it's been a tough couple of years from at Barcelona. So I really hope it works out for him at Liverpool.
You want the final word, Shaq?
Yeah, no, I agree. I like Araujo as a player, and Rob's right to point to 2 or 3 seasons ago. He's also had a lot of injuries in there, and that's kind of made so he's not had a decent run of form or run of games to address that. And with margins being as thin as they are at the top of La Liga, you kind of understand that he didn't get a decent run. He didn't get a decent run in the Barcelona team, but he offers a couple of options. You talk about, yes, he is prone to the odd error, but dare I say, so was Konate, dare I say, so was Virgil van Dijk for a lot of last season. He can also play out on that right side, on that right back side. You've seen him employed there for Barcelona time and time again, particularly against, or most notably, against Real Madrid and Vinicius Jr. You know how quick he is. You know how good a one-on-one defender he is, and very different from Frimpong in that result. So it offers a difference in options on that right-hand side, if that's what Iraola decides to do. I like the signing. I really do. I think a big physical presence who's quick over the ground. If he can avoid the injuries, I think this will prove a little bit of a masterstroke, especially given that, as Rob mentioned, it's on loan. You're not splashing a whole lot of cash, and you get options in a couple of different key areas for you for Liverpool.
Yeah, I think it makes sense, especially if he's able to recapture the form that Rob was talking about from 2 or 3 years ago. 20 goals in our 4 featured games today. It's pre-season though, so who cares about defending? We don't want goalkeepers getting clean sheet bonuses because they get too much of them, and it's just
They
boring,
get that?
isn't it?
They get that for preseason? I need to have a closer look at some of my contracts. I need to make a few calls.
We shall
Oh,
leave you with
boy.
Shaka going through all of his old contracts and all of his pre-season results to see if he's due any more money on top of the blank check from the bank of Stevie Nicol. I mean, what more do you want? We'll see you again soon. That's just a joke, Shaka. Don't go. Your wife is not going to be happy. Just because you got an empty nest, you've got all those games to go back
Right.
on now.
Oh, boy.
And plenty time to do. So thanks to Rob, thanks to Shaka, and to you for watching. We'll see you again soon. Bye for now.